Looks like we need Mom here to show Daddy how it's done. This happened yesterday. I decided to give my wife a break and take my almost 2-year-old out for the day. I had some things to return to the mall, so we went there first. As we drive into the parking lot, I can already tell it's going to be a good day. The coveted front row spot was waiting for us. My daughter is in a great mood. I'm in a great mood. Life is awesome. We bought stuff, rode the carousel, rode 50-cent rides, Disney store, Build-A-Bear. We had a near-perfect day until we left, walked out of the mall and got to the minivan. I put my daughter in her car seat and proceeded to unload our loot into the back of the van. During this time, a car with a 45 lady is waiting for my front row spot. I can feel her tapping her foot in her car. I start to fold up the stroller and forgot to unpack the little things, hair bow, snacks, random things, from the holder on the stroller handle. I stop to take out that stuff and put it in the van when I hear the lady say from her car to me, "Looks like we need Mom here to show Daddy how it's done." I can tell she's trying to be funny, but this pissed me off. I give her a fake smile and go about my business. This lady doesn't know me. She doesn't know if I'm divorced or a widower or anything. People make comments like this all the time to dads out spending time with their kids, and it gets under my skin. So I slowly pack the rest of the stuff, go around to the side door and get my daughter out of her seat. I start to walk back to the mall right beside this lady's car. I look at her like I'm surprised and say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Were you waiting on my spot? We're just dropping off some stuff in the van." I can see that she's perturbed. I finish it with a Happy New Year. She speeds off and I watch her from the front door of the mall. She has to park towards the back of the parking lot. I walk right back to the van, pack the kid, and drive away. I guess Daddy showed her how it's done. Redditors' reactions. Story 2 after. Redditor 1. I actually use the "no, my wife died" type of line all the time on snooty women. I have been a stay-at-home dad during the day. My wife is a 9-5er and worked nights for more than 3 years now. We all love it, and it just pisses me off to no end when women just assume we are bumbling through the day. Because Mom isn't there. Great job, Op. Redditor follow-up. One of my best friends was a stay-at-home dad while his kids were small. He was up to anything and everything. Could sew a dress, change the oil in the vehicles, hang drywall, cook, you freaking name it. Stereotypical bullpoop followed him everywhere. 4 years volunteering at the school our kids went to, he still got stopped randomly and suspicious looks from women. Redditor 2. Damn, as soon as you said widower, I kind of wished you had gotten teary-eyed and said you were a widower. Regardless, you were brilliant. Redditor 3. Wow, perfect. Similarly, my wife and I just had a little boy, so now we have a 2.5-year-old girl and a 5-month-old boy. People keep telling us that we are so lucky and have the perfect family now. What? My family was perfect before, and it's perfect now, and it'll be perfect when we have another. And what about those people with 2 girls or 2 boys or can't have kids at all? Is their family any less perfect? These people don't think before they speak. Redditor follow-up. You just need another half-child and you'll be all set with your 2.5 children. You have a white picket fence, don't you? Otherwise it's not perfect. Story 2. Revenge for not cleaning up after your son. Sorry, this is long. Background. My partner, F30, and I, M34, live with my biological son, 4. His mother and I are divorced. We live about 3 hours away from the rest of my family. This revenge story involves my cousin, let's call her Susan, F37, and her 2 boys, 5 and 7. I don't have a very close relationship with Susan, but she and I got along well enough. My nephews are overall decent kids, but like many boys, their age can be a handful, especially when combined together with my son. Because we live 3 hours away, Susan and I used to see each other about once or twice a year during major holidays. However, at the beginning of this year, Susan's husband got a job as a ship's mechanic, so he would often be away 2, 3, sometimes up to 8 weeks at a time. Since then, Susan has been driving down and dropping in on us about once or twice a month. She would often give us very little notice and stay for 2, 3 days at a time. While I don't mind seeing Susan and her boys, she was definitely starting to wear out her welcome. While she stays with us, Susan never does any cleaning, grocery shopping, cooking, or contributes to the household. She barely even looks after her boys, preferring to sit on the couch or her guest bed on her phone. This leaves my partner and I the responsibility of cooking, cleaning for 3 additional people, and also babysitting. The 3 boys would run around the house, and when I ask my cousin to look in on them, she ignores me and says, "Oh, they're just boys having fun. It's fine." Don't be such a tiger parent. When she does get off her ass to look after her boys, she just gives them an iPad each. My partner and I are trying to limit the screen time of our son, but it's kind of unfair to restrict his screen time while his cousins are constantly on theirs. So then we're forced to take the boys outside ourselves to play. Susan declines to join us. She's too tired as a single mother. Basically, she treats my home as a source of free accommodation, free meals, and free childcare. My partner and I grew up in households where we were taught to look after our guests, especially if they're family. So we just took Susan's laziness in stride for a while. The straw that finally broke the camel's back happened about 10 weeks ago. Susan and her boys were staying over, but the youngest boy was obviously sick. During the night, he got up and vomited all over our guest bathroom. In the morning, Susan used our bathroom to get ready and then left shortly after. As I was getting around to cleaning up after her, changing sheets, vacuuming, etc., I saw the horrendous vomit-strewn state Susan had left for us to clean. I called Susan and angrily told her off. Her reply was, "I'm a guest and I have to deal with a sick kid. Why don't you stop whining and just clean it?" I lost my poop at her and told her to duck off and never come back. She tried to call me, told on me to my parents and her parents for swearing. She eventually sent me a text apologizing. I knew she only wanted to fix our relationship because she wanted to continue to use my house as an Airbnb-free childcare, so I ignored her for about 2 months. Then last week, I decided to take revenge. I had a reunion with my high school friends in her city. So 2 days before, I called her and told her that I'm sorry about everything that's happened and that we will always be family. She eagerly jumped at the chance to make amends, thinking that her trips up to our house can start again. Then, one day before my reunion, I called her and asked if I can stay overnight at her house. She sounded reluctant but had no credible way of refusing given that we had made up. That night, I got horrendously drunk and had a great time with my friends. I got back to her place in the early hours and, using a toothbrush, made sure that I threw up all in her sink and bathtub. I then left immediately and got on a red-eye bus back home. The next morning, she blew up my phone trying to call me, sending me angry texts, etc. Eventually, I answered and innocently asked, "Hi, Susan. What's wrong?" "Fuck you. Clean up your spew, you asshole." I smiled. "But, cousin, I'm the guest, and I have to look after my hangover self. Why don't you stop whining and just clean it?" I then hung up. My cousin and I haven't talked since. Redditor's reactions. Story 3 after. Redditor 1. I can't imagine being a guest in someone's house and being like that. This situation upsets me so much. I can't believe you put up with it as long as you did. I love how satisfying this petty revenge is, giving her a taste of her own medicine, to cure the vomiting, no doubt. Redditor follow-up. As a family member, the cousin shouldn't have abused the guest privilege. Even a non-relative would at least do or say something before leaving. Very petty revenge low. Redditor 2. Oh, you mad lad. That was fantastic. Kudos for going the extra mile with the toothbrush. God, I hope she's got the point and doesn't try to visit you anymore. Redditor follow-up. Kudos. There's no apostrophe. Edit. Guess it's not appreciated to let someone know they're using something wrong. Like shoot yourself vs suit yourself. It's kudos, not kudos. But whatever, I'm gonna keep it up. Redditor 3. When I'm a guest in someone's home, I try to prepare at least one meal, take them out to eat, or both. I also strip the bed and offer to wash it, or place the bedclothes where they prefer. Cleaning the dishes mess is a given. All this to say, I despise your cousin. Story 3. Refuse the divorce. Ignore the solicitors. Gonna cost ya. So this is an old story. Got married at quite a young age. We were married for about 6 years before she decided she was gay. She cheated and then left. I wasn't happy about the lies and the deceit, obviously, but discovering that you are gay, or finally accepting you are gay, who am I to try and stop that? All I truly cared about was that she was happy and true to herself. Thankfully, we'd not had kids even though we'd discussed it many times. Now we'd bought a house together, and her name is on the mortgage and the deed, but she ducked off and ignored all contact from that moment forward. I began divorce proceedings, citing adultery and abandonment as cause. She ignores the solicitor, and by ignore, I mean, over the course of many years she refused to respond to them once, buried her head in the sand, and pretended it didn't exist. Now, this was a fairly small town. More village, really. 10, 12 egg people at most. Most people know everyone else, and everyone knows everyone else's business kind of place. Word gets back to me that her new girlfriend has convinced her to keep quiet and ignore everything, and that she'll get a big payout from the sale of the house. My family is still friendly with her family, and her mum-dad siblings are all kind of disgusted with her behavior. Not the fact she's gay. That's not how it works. She's not paid a penny on the mortgage since she left. She never actually contributed $50 before because she worked part-time in low-wage jobs. She's refused to respond to solicitors, so fees are adding up there. After about 5 heirs, the divorce is granted, and she's ignored everything for that entire time. It's probably closer to 5.5 years since she left. Now she's expecting to be able to force the sale of the house and get her payout. Oh dear. Turns out that everything she owes is taken from her share of the property, and that what she owes in back mortgage payments, solicitors and court costs, outweigh the equity in the property after the mortgage is deducted. All of the repairs and maintenance I've done to the house, like a new roof and new bathroom, are all factored into the settlement, so that added another 20 to my side of the deal. Suddenly, she finds out that instead of getting a 5-figure payout of 30-40, it's actually more like 3-4, and I could easily remortgage to cover it without selling the house at all if I wanted. The folks instead chipped in to help me out as I've helped them out many times over the years. Not that it's a competition, and they've done far more for me than I could ever repay. I struggled to pay the mortgage for a long time because of her. I very nearly lost the house entirely, which would have ducked her over a lot worse, as she'd have been liable for 50 of the entire debt. She's now saddled with a partner who allegedly has cheated on her with a man who's also the father of the child they're supposedly raising together. Her social media used to be full of living my best life and found my soulmate type posts. Now it's apparently filled with complaints about how much they're struggling and begging for help. I don't use social media. As far as I'm aware, neither of them work and are claiming benefits and living in local authority housing in a crappy tiny village 20 miles from their families and without access to easy public transport and a car. If I smoked still at the time, I'd have been sucking on a big fat cigar. Not heard anything for quite some time now. If anyone I used to know mentions her name, I simply respond and ask them to stop before they go any further, that I am no longer interested in hearing anything about them. Just realized that some might not think that this comes as petty revenge, but the main thing to realize is that I knew that this was going to happen. My solicitor had told me how the legal system worked and what the consequences would be. I simply didn't inform anyone else of these facts. Those that did know were sworn to secrecy. I could have warned her, but I chose not to. Yeah, no, being petty and all that. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1. As a lawyer, I love when defenders don't reply or ignore court orders. Makes my life so much easier. You did good. You had no reason to help her if she's not, at least, civil with you. And she wasn't. So she got what she deserved. Answer. The person I met and married disappeared practically overnight. I found out that she'd been cheating on me with this other woman for quite some time. The other woman, well, you know how there's that stereotype of the hideous butch lesbian. She's that kind of stereotype. She's not a nice person at all. Personality and attitude make her hideous, not her physical appearance. The person she became, not one I recognize. Not one her family recognizes either. I wish I could say that it was the influence of the other person, but I kinda think that it's who she always was underneath. I put her snarkiness towards others down as more of a social awareness issue rather than just a plain old rude and mean personality. Redditor 2. AI simply didn't inform anyone else of these facts. Those that did know were sworn to secrecy. I could have warned her, but I chose not to. Yeah, no, being petty and all that. Never interrupt your enemy when she is making a mistake. Redditor 3. I congratulate you. Your pettiness is stunning, and she got what she had coming. You reap what you sow. I hate cheaters.